Hi everyone, it's Loretta and I have a tutorial for you. This is going to be how to make a magic card, and these are really quite easy to make. They are a little bit on the time consuming side, but we'll go through it step by step. This is what one looks like when it's done. As you slide it up, the image appears underneath it. So it is way stinking cute. Let's just zoom in a little bit more. So, and then it just slides back in. Now this is one of the first ones I made, so it is a little wonky, which is fine. You know, I'm a very visual learner, so I had to make it again before I really got it. So there it is. This stamped image is from your next stamp, and I use Copic markers to color it. And then I also use the eggs from the same stamp set for that. For this card, we are going to be using... Okay, let's gather materials first. Let's start at the beginning. You need ink. In this case, Memento Tuxedo Black. And you're going to need cardstock. Transparency. Paper to stamp on, and you're going to need something to build a frame with. In this case I just used some stacking frame dies that I already have in my collection, and to save some time I did pre-cut quite a few things. So let's get started. This is called a Misty, most incredible stamping tool ever. I could never, and I do mean ever, get a stamping majig to work. And I absolutely use this pretty much every single day. It is awesome sauce. So anyway, I've already put my stamp where I want it, and I'm going to ink that up. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but I had used a stamp earlier, so there was still a little ink on it, and it transferred to the paper. That actually isn't a bad thing, because all we're going to do is stamp over it in, so we get that image a little darker. And I am going to just ink up the top portion of this, and I'm going to leave that little bottom portion uninked so that we can put this in a pot in just a little bit. So we ink that up and we put it down. This piece of paper measures 3 5/8 by 5 inches, and the piece of acetate measures the same size. We're going to put that there, and we're going to grab our acetate and going to stamp it. Now when you're getting ready to stamp this image a second time onto the acetate, you're going to need to use a permanent ink, and this is StazOn. And again, we're going to just ink toward the top. And if you do happen to drop your ink pad like I just did, no worries. Later on, we can clean that off with a baby wipe and hand sanitizer. So we've re-inked that, and we're going to push it down really good, transfer that ink, and open it up and see if we have a good image. If we didn't, we can stamp over it in. Actually, that stamped pretty good, but I need more of the cactus than that. So let's ink it up a little bit more. I know you guys can't see me inking it, but I don't have that much room on my desk. And down it goes again. Perfect. Alrighty. I'm going to take this stamp off, and I'm going to grab the pot stamp and I'm going to place it face down where I want it to be on this transparency. Since these are exactly the same, there's not a whole lot of fuss and muss. I will tell you, if you have problems with this, you can use some masking tape, but you don't need to, so I'm going to just pick that stamp up with a lid. I'm going to pick up, apparently I'm going to pick up the transparency too. And I'm going to ink up that pop with my Stays On ink. You could use Stays On ink for the cactus on the white layer as well, but I'm planning to use Copics, and Copics are not compatible with Stays On ink. So there's the first one, and now we're going to get this little guy done, and he's going to get inked up again. I'm not even going to clean it off with some black Memento Tuxedo Black. I'm going to push that down. So there's our two images stamped. I'll put this aside, and this is where the magic happens anyway. So this piece of paper measures 4 inches by 10.5, and we are going to score it in half. Just like this. I'll get these ink pads out of the way. Otherwise it will be my luck and I'm going to drag my hands right through them. So we're going to do this. Alright, now we're going to open it up and we're going to create a little slit right here. And I still ran my fingers through the ink. I don't know if you can see that right there or not. Lovely moment. So I'm basically going to create a pocket or a little sleeve for this to slide in and out of. So I'm going to start at the 1/4 inch, and that blade is actually right here in the dead center, and I'm going to move this all the way to 3.5, and I'm going to move this down just a wee little bit, and I'm going to come back and cut it in. So this one's a little wider than I really wanted it. It'll still work. Nobody's going to notice if you make a mistake. This is all going to be covered. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these two little pieces and we're going to cut this area right here completely out. Remember what I said, you're not going to see that later on. Now I do want to go ahead and measure this opening real quick. Let's see. That's a little over 1/4 on that side. It should be a little over 1/4 on this side. Okay, good. Alright. So what I'm going to do is basically make a T shape. And we may have to do this again later. We may have to trim it up. Alright, to make the process of cutting this T shape a little faster, I'm going to go ahead and line up that transparency with the image underneath. I'm going to lay it on top. There is a little piece of adhesive right there. We can take it off later or we can use it later. We'll see what we need to do with it. And as you can see, they line up exactly. So I am going to put this at the 1/4 inch mark. And I'm going to cut from the bottom all the way from the top all the way to the bottom. I said that backwards. However, before I make that cut, I'm going to make myself a couple little tick marks at the bottom. I'm going to score in, actually I'm going to draw a line in just a little bit. This can be erased later if you think it's going to show, but it won't. We're going to line this up. We're going to cut all the way down to where we put that tick mark. And this is at the 1/4 inch mark, and this is, the bottom is 1/2 inch from the bottom, so just be patient. You don't want to cut it too much or too little. You don't want to have to sit here and trim it all day. There's a 1/2 inch on this side. is where these tick marks are. We're going to take our scissors and we're just going to square that off. This is actually going to be hidden underneath that mechanism, just so, as a reminder. Before I even color this image, I want to bring back my card base. And I'm going to make sure that this actually is going to slide in and out the way it should. This is where I was telling you that you may have to adjust this measurement right here just a little bit. And in my case, I need to make this window, or this opening, a little bit bigger, but not by much. I'm not sure why I always have problems with like 1/8 inch measurements, but I do, so. Okay, almost, just a little tiny bit more needs to come out of here. You want to give it enough room where it's going to slide, but not so much that it's going to go crooked on you. So there, I think that's going to do it. Let's see. Okay, so that is going to work. But before I go any further, what I want to do is take my trimmer. Remember, this is 4 inches wide, so we're going to take this to the 2-inch mark. And I'm going to draw a little tick mark right here. And this is going to allow me to make a pull tab. Alright, now what I'm going to do is, this is actually going to be the inside of the card. I'm going to slide my hole punch in here and just kind of eyeball it. And this is going to help provide a place for you to, my punch is really old, grab the workings, if you will, and make this card work. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to layer on the outside piece, and for mine I'm going to use white, and this is going to measure 3 3/4 by 4 3/4. I'm going to put this inside my card for now. And I'm going to punch this again. So that's going to line up just like this. And we're going to use some tape. Get my ATG gun out. Let's see. And I'm gonna take a second here. And straighten my card front out a little bit. Put this back on top. And tape it down. And if this is a little off center, nobody's really going to notice it. They're going to be too busy playing with the darn thing. So there it is. Alright, so what we're going to do is cut another little piece of paper. We're just going to use our handy dandy punch. I'm going to fold this one in half. Just like that. And we're going to put adhesive on it. Lots of adhesive. I'm just using score tape because it's strong and I have it on my desk already. You can use glue if you want to. Any extra you can just trim up or tear away. Now what I want to do is slide this into the card. Let's get that through the opening first. Okay, so okay, just looking to see how closely lined up this really is, and it's off, but for the purposes of demonstration, we'll make it work. We're going to put this tab right there on the top, fold it down, and burnish that with your nail. And we're going to use a crocodile, poke a hole in it. Don't need a really big hole. Now we're going to pull it and see how close to matching up it is. It matches up perfectly. So now what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to get this out of the way. I'm going to color this image. It's idea to color this image before you get this far, but you've probably already figured that out. So I am going to turn on some more lights real quick. That's better. And color this cute little cactus with my Copic markers. I'm probably going to fast forward you guys through this part, so enjoy the coloring.
It's magic, you know. Never believe it's not so. It's magic, you know. Never believe it's not so. Ho, 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 it's magic, you know. Never believe it's not so. It's magic, you know. Never believe it's not so. Ho, 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 it's magic, you know. Never believe it's not so. It's magic, you know. Never believe it's not
Alright everyone, this is where we are now. I've colored the image and it is moving the way it should. I did stamp the sentiment, it just says hello. I may actually go back and airbrush this, but I haven't decided yet. I kind of like it the way it is. We'll see. If I do, I'll include some still pictures after the video. So what I'm going to do now is, now that I know it works, we're going to seal it down. And to do that, we need some really strong adhesive. I'm using some 1/8 inch score tape. We're just going to flip this puppy open. Dang it. It's okay, we'll fix it. It's fine. Now, before I do this, I'm going to actually cut down this tab just a little bit so that there's enough room on either side for it to slide without catching on the tape. So, just trim that a little bit. Now, you probably won't have these problems with yours. I tell you, anytime I try to film a tutorial, something always happens that causes me to have to trim something or move something or whatever. A lot of that actually gets cut out of the videos in the editing process, and that is a fact for which I am very thankful. I'm really, really glad that I finally figured out how to edit. What am I saying, you know? And since this came apart right here, I'm going to add another piece of tape right there. Because that part's going to get fixed in just a second. Alright, so that's all taped up. We're going to take the score tape off. Close it back up. Let's get this all the way out of the way. Line it up and seal it down. Okay. Now, this is where the fun part happens. Let's get that varnished down a little bit better. That'll actually stay in place a little more securely once we get the front done. Now, when you're doing the front, you have a couple of options. The first option is that you can leave it just like it is, which is awesome. You don't have to decorate it. Or you can do what I'm doing. You can do an oval frame, you can do a rectangle frame, whatever you like. And so what we're going to do is put this on top. Now, the other thing you don't have to do either is leave these tabs, because they really serve no purpose. If you wanted to put this up on a little foam adhesive, then yeah, you know, you can just let it right up underneath there. But since I'm not, we're not going to do it like that. We're going to actually cut these off all together. So now we're just going to put some score tape on the front, just like we did on the back. This is just going to hopefully line right up. And I actually cut a second frame that's going to sit right up underneath this base piece. So I'm going to go ahead and put some tape on this, and I'm going to turn you guys off for a few seconds while I get some other things together to decorate the front. Alright, I dropped this frame as I was putting it onto my card print, and it stuck. So it's not straight. So in order to save this, all I'm going to do is get this out of the way, and I'm going to use some of my undo and just drop it in place and pick up this piece. It temporarily breaks the bond of the tape with the paper. So, and this really is that easy. Now, this is going to take a couple minutes to dry. I would normally dry this with a heat tool. However, I don't want to melt the acetate. So I'm going to fix this and we'll be back. these two images are stamped and laid on the card front, we're going to make the card base. The card base is basically a half sheet of cardstock folded in half, so that when the card is folded, it measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, or A2. Okay, so that's the card base, and this is just going to sit on top of it like this, and we're just going to, you can tape it or you can glue it. I'm just going to use some glue because I have some on my desk. This is Tombow Mono Multi Glue. I buy mine in bulk, and it cost me about $1.74 a piece, which is a lot cheaper than the $6 to $8 that you pay for it at the craft store. So if you'd like that information, just email me and I will tell you the source for that good buy. Okay, this is down. The card opens like that, and you pull the tab. Now, you are going to have to play with this a little bit to loosen up this mechanism, but it works great. This little guy right here doesn't need to be there, but I'll fix him. Needs just to be down a little bit further. The other thing you can do is you can stamp a cinnamon on this panel as well, which I'm actually thinking about doing. So let me get some ribbon for the pull. Okay, I'm just going to use my scissors to push this ribbon through the hole. If you have problems doing this, you can always get a wide-eyed needle and do it. I found just a little bit of patience goes a long way with this pumpkin. This acetate a little bit down here too. We'll see. Like I said, when I film, I tell you something is gonna go wrong. But in the end, it still looks nice, and I can get this to a very dear friend of mine. So I'm going to gather up some more supplies so we can finish this card. Alright folks, I'm going to super zoom you in here to show you what happened. Okay, what you're looking at is the front of the card. I did airbrush it, which I'll show you in a minute. But this is one of those times when the old saying, there are no mistakes in stamping, only embellishment opportunities, leaps to mind, because I have to fix it. I drug my fingers through the ink. I could try to scrub it off with an eraser, and all I would do is create a peely little mess. So what I'm going to do is I cut a piece of paper. This is actually the center out of one of the frames I cut earlier for a different project. And I'm just going to pick this up a little bit. I'm going to put it in. So if this happens to you, you can fix it. It's just kind of a pain in the backside to do it, but get the top and sides lined up first, and we'll line up the bottom last. Let's see here. No one will ever know you made a mistake except for you. I'll push that back down. Now, as you can see, my airbrushing has been done. Hello. And I'm not real sure if I'm going to actually restamp that happy birthday or not. It looks kind of cute without it. But now we are definitely going to finish off this card. So I stamped and colored some of these small leaves from the same stamp set. I'll leave the name of the stamp set along with a link to the supplies that I used in the description box down below. And there will be a tutorial also on my blog listing the supplies and instructions. And as always, should you have questions, email me and I'll be glad to answer those. You can also leave me a private message here on YouTube or on my Facebook. That information is also on my blog, so go for it. So what I'm going to do is straighten this out, and I'd already decided I wanted one of these right here. Let's put a little glue right there. Doesn't take a lot. I'm going to be sure that that's only glued to the frame, not to the card front. And I'm going to take a small bolster. I get my bolsters from Judy Morrow in the Sticky Stuff store. I will also have her information down below. It'll be with the other supplies. So let's see if we can't get this to cooperate with us. And just kind of do it like that so that this is still going to slide right up underneath that. Not inhibited anyway. And decide whether or not we want any more on this card. It definitely came together kind of at the last minute, and I'm very glad that it did. Please excuse my puppy barking. He is a 5-month-old Shih Tzu, and he's going through his terrible twos. And it's been quite interesting the last few days. He has found his little puppy voice, and I have the feeling Daddy is getting a little frustrated with him. So anyway, I'm going to glue this one down at the bottom. I do generally work on the rule of threes. Threes are a little bit more pleasing to the eye, and this way the outside of the frame doesn't distract from the main image. So it will just be finished up here. I'm going to lay that down also on the front of the card. Helps if you don't talk with your mouth full. And our card is complete. Let's check it again to be sure that the mechanism is working properly. And it is, so let's bring this down and zoom you back out a little bit. The card. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please rate, comment, and subscribe. Share my videos on your social media site. Subscribe to my videos if you haven't already. Stamp happy. Be a blessing. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.